Hey guys, Sax here. This video here is a portion of our larger This Week in Destiny Rising podcast with myself and Astrix from the Combini clan. Now, if you want to see the full podcast, I'll have the link to that in the top corner and in the description. This is what the top players in the game consider to be the most viable characters to play right now. So I hope you enjoy. And if you like this content, let me know in the comment section and like and subscribe to the channel so we can keep making this week after week. All right, let's get into it. So Astrix, man, you just segued me perfectly to how I want to end today's conversation, man. I have not had as much time to even consider and look at different characters. And so I've seen a lot of these. And so guys at home, you may be sick and tired of seeing tier lists, but hey, this is ours. This is Astrix. I'm going to put in what I can to this, but Astrix, I want to have a conversation. Are you cool with doing a little Destiny Rising character tier list today? Way too early tier list because we've not had the time to get all this stuff. What do you think, man?
All right. So first off, just put Tan in S tier.
Okay.
He is just too good of a unit. Sniper is very good. He's a team buffing unit. It's just a no-brainer pick right there.
Love it.
And then I guess we can start from left to right now.
Okay, so we start. Do you think so with Tan? You think Tan automatically ends up like? So we're gonna take the classic tier list ranking here, right? So we're putting things in the top, and then we're gonna order them throughout. So you think Tan is solid, like locked in at top left corner, like no one would move him from that position? And I
would say the only chance that he would be moved from there is Umeko, the Void Hunter, but we don't know if she's been changed or not.
Interesting. Okay, all right. So let's get to there. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. So we'll we'll just spend like a minute or so as we move through here. So let's talk Atal here. What are your thoughts, your considerations? As I said, I have a lot of things for Atal, but I've not got a lot of time other than base tutorial stuff, trying to get in there. What are your feelings?
So Atal, I would put in C tier. She has good utility. She has good group blinding and some decent healing for herself or a teammate. But unfortunately, hand cannons aren't the greatest in Destiny Rising.
Yeah, that is fair.
And linears are more or less just worse snipers.
Gotcha.
So.
Interesting. That is an interesting distinction when we start talking about taking the identity that we have in Destiny 2 where linears are, heavy linears, right? Like we're talking Queen Breaker, that goes there and how it hits like a truck because it's using heavy ammo. But then when you compress everything into just the two ammo types, looking at linears, I can see how they would lose their, they would just be worse, right? Like with charge rates, instead of an insta fire sniper. So, okay, I can understand that. Let's talk here. Let's keep moving.
Estela, I would put in high A tier, so very left of A tier. She might move to S tier. We just kind of need to see if anything's been changed about her or how she interacts with the new artifact system.
Okay.
She might be bumped up to S tier.
Gotcha.
But for now, I would just keep her in A.
Okay. Now, I do have a little experience playing with Finala. Not a ton, but I did play a little bit early on. And so I feel like there is a cool kit there that just gets overshadowed by a lot of other characters. If we're talking close combat, Gwen is gonna take it almost every time, right? If you're trying to do fighting in the face, doing that, for sword combat, I've not actually played with Jolter a ton. I've gotten quite a few copies of her actually, but I've not played a ton just because all of my Void centric kit has gone towards Gwen. But I know that a lot of people have really enjoyed playing Jolter, in these first couple of weeks. What's your feelings here with Finala?
Finala is another one that I would put in C tier, but above Atal. She has insane survivability, but that's generally not an issue in 99% of content.
That's fair.
Her fourth upgrade of her weapon mastery kind of does like an explosion when I believe you have it's her healing or her blazing barrier active, I believe, if I remember correctly. And so that's actually very good at dealing with groups of ads or even spread Shinkas, which is not one of her main damage types. So she actually does well there. But
interesting.
it really just comes out to not being able to deal out a huge amount of damage, which is kind of the meta currently. Survivability is not an issue, as I said.
Yeah, just pouring as much damage out as quickly as possible seems like, because even the Iskis encounter, that DPS window is very short. It's not a very long one, and we found that last night as I did my first Sherpa run, playing with some people who were leveled above but were unoptimized, right? Like the conversation that yourself, you, me, Heavenly, and Orion had, just a few days ago that I shared out. That conversation, it showed us, right? Like it opened a lot of people's eyes to the fact, like, oh my gosh, there's so many things going on under the hood of a proper DPS rotation. And the fact that it's such a short window, some of these characters, it feels like some of them, it takes them a long time. Like it's a total damage, not a burst damage situation. Yeah. And that's where I struggle a little bit with some of the characters, like, let's say like an Ikora, right? You could get a Nova Bomb off, things of that sort, but to do any kind of weapon damage with Ikora feels almost impossible.
Yeah.
Because you're having to manually reload each time. I mean, I know that she has some higher tier stuff. I've not even explored some of her higher tier weapons and things of that sort to see what you might have to mitigate that. But let's move to Ikora real quick. What do you think for Ikora?
I'd have to put Ikora in D tier.
Okay.
Yeah, she has a good
D as in dog.
Yeah, D as in dog. Yeah, she has really good burst damage with like her Nova.
Yeah.
Rockets are kind of fun to play with. Man, she struggles in just about every piece of content.
Yeah, and guys, we're not talking cool factor, because I think Ikora's signature.
Oh yeah, no, I love
Ikora's signature Ikora abilities, like pulling them together, like bringing everything together and just deleting a group of ads in one go, like feels fantastic. Like the power fantasy of it, but the practical nature of it just doesn't show, right? Or it doesn't perform how you wish it did. Let's do this. Let's go through some of these legendary characters, and then I want to go through the thing here. So let's move over to Kabir now, or Kabir.
Kabir, I would put in B tier. I'd say he's probably the highest of B tier.
Gotcha.
He does extremely well in underleveled content. He's just pulse rifle LMG. He's kind of a slow character. He has no movement abilities, so he's slow in on level or over leveled content. But where he really shines is like the day one raid, where you saw us. We had 2 of them, so that's where he really excels. But most content, he's not needed.
Yeah, and to be clear, let's drill in just a little further on why he excels in that. Is it my understanding that he excels properly or mostly because of the ability to blind large groups of enemies?
Yes, his
protection with the summonable shield, as we discussed, and then just the raw ad clear ability of his super. Are those the primary things?
Yeah. He just has such insane ad clear control, arguably second to none in the list.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know, because I enjoy playing as Kabir, but I struggle sometimes to anytime I get something that's not an arc or a solar shield, I feel completely out of my depths. Like I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, and I'm like, okay, so we're on, what is it? Break in? Is that the name of it? It's not Breakout.
The first encounter?
Yeah. I want to say Breakout, but I was like, that doesn't make sense. We're going in. For Break-In, I feel like he shines on the opposite side of the bridge, but on the close side of the bridge, when you're trying to defend plates with it, it's just a little difficult.
And it's all void shields. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay. So this is Umeko? Is that right?
Umeko, yes. Umeko. Yeah, the 4-star that's coming with Estela.
Okay. And she is slotting into the permanent banner. Is that right?
I believe so. She should be. That's how it worked in the beta.
So they'll be split. Estela is limited, and Umeko is going to should be. Obviously, we're doing this before it comes out. So if we're wrong for some reason, that would be weird. But we're going to assume that she's going to be slotting into that. Now, obviously, it's a permanent banner. This may be a really dumb question. There's no rotating in and out of permanent banner, right? Like that's just an additional tool. Okay, because the reason I had that question at all, someone's probably going to roast me in the comments, be like, duh, bro, that's what permanent means. The reason I was wondering about that is more from the aspect of that pool getting really big, right? Like over time, and having, like, if you're not playing right now and you're not, because we had a conversation about spending our resources on, specifically on the limited time characters, but there's also a bit of this weird layer of FOMO where it's like, okay, if I don't get these permanent characters, let's say I leave the game for a while, I come back and they've added like 5 more permanent characters or something like that. It's like, well, now your odds are lower technically, or could be. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of that wrong, but that's kind of what I was thinking. So anyways, Umeko here, what are your thoughts and from your experience, your hands-on that you've had in the past?
So she was, like, I'd say the best 4-star we had, without a doubt. She debuffs targets. She has 2 dashes, which make her go invisible. So she has good just survivability, just being able to disappear from enemies. Sure. And she had like a healing aura when using, I think it was her dash, that would heal herself and all allies within her aura. In the beta, she was a stealth sniper user. So much like Tan, had really good damage overall from any range. But the thing is, we had bows available in the beta, but nobody used them.
Interesting.
And so there's kind of speculation that maybe she'll be bow sniper, but we don't know for certain.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that, but I guess the only problem I could see that happening, and one thing that I think could, like, because I have had people that are heated about the fact that, like, I've already seen comments, Estela, using the same loadout as another character, things like that. You guys, you got to remember that actually reduces down the grind a little bit, because you're not having to grind for exotics and things of a different weapon archetype. You can utilize those across characters. The main thing would be tough if you had to somehow bind an exotic or a mythic to a character. That would suck really bad. So thankfully you can do that. That's the issue I can see with Umeko here. If you have a bow, but let's say your Tan is, your weapons on Tan are really set well. Obviously, we have different element types at this point, so going between the solar and the void, that is an interesting dynamic there. So I'm torn where I was like, yeah, it'd be cool to have some nice, some new weapon archetypes, but on the other hand, it's like, well, if it is the same shared with Tan, you're having your work, so to speak, or maybe quartering it down. So where do you think she would sit in this? Let's assume she is exactly like she was in the beta, because that's the only thing we've been hands on.
I would put her in S tier.
S tier.
Yes.
Awesome.
Because on top of what I said, she also has reload scalers. Okay. So like something like Izanagi, where it got nerfed, you'd be able to pop off Izanagi shots way faster than with Tan.
That's awesome. All right, we are to our main character here. We are to our boy Wolf. What are your thoughts? And obviously, I'm going to have some thoughts as well, since obviously I've played a lot of Wolves, as we all have.
I would put him in A tier. He's just a very solid character all around. He has rapid fire. He has spread. He covers a couple different elements. He's an amazing starter character. And the exotic GL that you get for free, once you get the catalyst for it, being able to load up those super grenades. Wolf has a very short super cooldown, so you can just pop those off like it's nothing. And those spawn out of thin air. They don't take out of reserves.
Oh, really? So. See, that's not something I think I was maybe intrinsically, like, in the back of my head, I was managing that in, or like, putting that in, just assuming that it was almost like an Izanagi shot, if that makes sense, like consuming that, doing that. So that's actually good. That's a good tip to know there as well. So you think, I mean, I love playing as Wolf. I feel like at times I feel a little squishy, but maybe it's something for me. And I'll be honest, I've put way more time and effort into my artifact for Kabir, for Tan, and for Gwen. And I have not, even though I've played Wolf probably the second most out, Gwen has overtaken Wolf for me. But I think I've probably spent the least amount of time looking at my artifact for Wolf. What do you think about the squishiness of Wolf?
So there are 2 artifacts, the first 2 slots. There's one that makes it so you regen health when you have an overshield active.
Okay.
And so that'll tie into the second artifact, which is when your shield breaks, you gain an overshield for a limited amount of time.
Okay.
So those obviously synergize together, but Wolf also gives himself overshields through some of his abilities.
Okay.
And so that'll help with your health regen as well.
I see. Okay. Yeah, because that's another thing I've seen on there is the, like you just mentioned, like mods or artifacts or things like that have an inflection point that has to do with overshields, right? Like get an overshield, this happens, or obtain an overshield, or your overshield wears out, or something, or something along those lines. Maybe not exactly, but if you have an overshield, or if you're looking to get an overshield, I think that's the main thing for me that's been a little confusing is the obtaining of an overshield to be able to invest into that. So I just haven't known personally, okay, well, how do I get said overshield that you're asking me to have? So it's cool to know that, oh, there's actually some artifacts in like slot 1 that can beef up a further slot, down the line. So if you play those together, they'll kind of, play off each other. So, and then let's talk about everyone's favorite boy to pull, Zhuan. I just love so much. It brings me so much joy every time I see him pop up. When I have a character screen, I'm just hoping it's always him. So, what are your thoughts, man?
D tier.
Yeah.
D as in dog. Probably even below Ikora.
Yeah.
He has some really cool use cases, but man, he needs a lot of love.
Yeah, I've not even fired up. So what do you think? We won't spend too much time on this, but what do you think actually is the issue? Do you think it's a loadout? Because people who have played have said, oh, I think the abilities are cool.
Yeah,
it's weird about like some of the I don't know if it's a weapon loadout deal or what are your thoughts?
So I don't know if you haven't played John Way, fusion rifles act way differently in Destiny Rising than Destiny.
Oh, really?
They're much more like a charge up auto rifle. It's really weird.
Huh.
The only exception from that I know of is Jotun, where it functions basically exactly the same as Destiny 2.
Oh.
But yeah, it just comes down to like a weird weapon selection, and then his abilities, although cool, are kind of lackluster.
Okay.
He really struggles in like a single target. That's where he really, really struggles.
Like just one-on-one? Like,
yeah.
Do you mean like beefier targets?
Beefier targets, yeah. So like a yellow bar or something, like a mini boss, yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. There are sometimes I feel that way with Kabir though as well. When I'm up against a tankier, if there's a group of ads, like a group of red bars or something of that sort, I feel like I am in control with Kabir. And then you take them away. It's something about that. It's like you just step it up one. Maybe that's just a skill issue on me. It probably is. But it's more of a situation where I just feel like, man, I'm really good at a distance behind my wall, shooting these shields off and blinding and doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd say the difference there is just the survivability between the two.
I see.
John Way doesn't... His main ad control is pulling the enemies towards you. And it doesn't blind them or anything. So
that is tough. That is tough. I'm starting to remember now the time I spent in the tutorial and not being like, I don't know that I love like in D2. If we had that ability on an Arc Titan to be able to, because I know knockout obviously takes us to the enemy, right? Like with our melees and stuff. But the ability to actually pull a group of enemies together to make sure that they're all getting hit with an ability, that would be super cool. Like to be able to do that. And so I can see the abilities being cool, but that's mostly because D2, I love to say it, I'll say it often, like enemies are basically just health packs for us, right? Like if there's a red bar here, like I'm gonna get a snap melee off, or I'm gonna get, some sort of, punch off to get knockout and heal myself, things of that sort. Whereas in Destiny Rising, that's not always the case, right? Like it's really dependent on the character that you're playing. With Gwen, which we can move to now, I do feel like if I have an enemy nearby, I feel like I am safer almost than if I'm exposed. Like most of the time when I die with Gwen, I'm getting like sniped by something or something off in the distance that I can't take care of because I have, these sidearms and a shotgun. So let's talk about Gwen next. What's your thoughts on Gwen here?
So I'd actually put Gwen at like low S tier.
Okay.
Like maybe even below Umeko.
Okay.
This is going off of like no dupes.
Gotcha.
She has like, I think everybody knows her at this point.
Sure.
She has pretty good survivability, just picking up like the Void Souls. Shotguns put out a ton of damage. Concertos, which whether you bought them or you grinded strikes for them, are insane for buffing your shotgun. So she dumps out a ton of damage. She's a very solid close range character. She has an insanely well built kit.
Yeah.
For close range.
So real quick, I wanna pick your brain on just this one thing before we move to our final two. Gwen as a character, I get so many questions about why are you using, Concerto, why aren't you using the Octane, whatever the raid.
The Octane Riot.
Yeah, why aren't you using Octane Riot? And I don't actually have Octane Riot, and I don't know the answer to it. So I just be like, well, this is what I've been told by the best players I know, right? What is the reasoning for that?
So Octane Riot is more or less just a worse version of Izanagi. It uses a ton of ammo, and while it does do good burst, I'd say a good mythic with Concerto does way better. It just, because you can refill your mags for the shoddy, just switching on and off of Concerto. In my brain, it's a no-brainer.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and that's what you guys had articulated to me before, but I have no experience with Octane. I just can't get it to drop. So it's like, what am I getting into when I'm having these conversations with people? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, next time I talk with Astrix, I'll ask that. So, okay, let's move on. Final two here. We got Jolder coming up here.
Jolder I would actually put in A tier.
Okay.
It's kind of a running joke in our clan that
a
lot of people consider her S tier. And so we call her B tier, but really she's A tier.
So splitting the difference. Now, where are we sitting between Estela, Wolf, and...
I'd put her below Estela, above Wolf,
okay.
So in the middle.
Mid A tier. You guys hear it here first. Jolder is mid A tier.
So Jolder is kind of another case like Fenala, where she has insane survivability, but being able to get those retribution stacks, which give her buffs, and having unlimited SMG ammo at times, she does do much better in the damage department. So she also has her bubble, which can protect the entire team.
Yeah. She's
a very solid underleveled content character. I would actually not be surprised at all to see a lot of her in the upcoming raid race. Much like Kaber, she does very well in underleveled content, but when you go to like on level or over leveled, that's where it's like, ooh, like you might find her fun, but
when you're because that's the interesting distinction between what when you guys are doing day one stuff, you're like, hey, and that actually goes for Destiny 2 and Destiny Rising. You're never going to clear an encounter if you keep dying, right? So like you gotta start at a base survivability piece, and then it's additive above there. So what I think the top of the top players, and I would include yourself, and I would include Combini for sure, is the fact that you guys went in. Yes, you were familiar with Monolith's Fall, and yes, you knew it about like the back of your hand. But you also had on the fly, like I heard you guys like on that day one, you're like, oh, this changed. Okay, like we're good. Like this person's going here and things like that. Being able to be flexible, but you can't be flexible if people are dying left, right, and center, right? If people are dead all over the place, if you can't rely on, and sometimes people just have bad days, right? But like if you're concerned and you're like, oh, we're limiting our team composition, we're limiting the people, just using Monolith's Fall as an example, we're limiting the amount of people that can cross the bridge at this point because I don't think they can survive that kind of thing. Yeah. Being able to come up with creative ways to get around that is effective. That's why I think it is important what you're saying. Kaber, Yolder, like all these different characters that have this high survivability, ceiling, whatever you want to call it, and then being able to sub them out once you master an activity or those restrictions, the day one restrictions, whatever the equivalent of contest mode, the fair play modifiers, all those things come off. Then saying, okay, well, I think there's clearly some better higher tier options here that we can sub in. And I think that's where it comes down, right? Like things start moving down the tier list, and that's what's tough about these, right? Like, because you're trying to place people on tier lists, but then everything's contextual. It's like, okay, if we're talking day one, then this list would look different than if you're just talking about general feel, which is what we're talking about now. So, all right, last character, Ning Fei, which I just got a couple of days ago. But I've seen you guys talking about and kidding out and trying to theory craft on and things like that. What are your thoughts here on the last character?
Ning Fei, I would put in A tier.
Okay.
You really could put him above or below Yolder. I would not argue either way.
I think it does better if we put him above.
Man, Ning Fei, he got such a glow up going into release. So the artifacts in beta, because the entire artifact system changed. The artifacts in beta didn't really play around him well. He really struggled. By going into full release, man, a lot of them are so good for him. His clones, they take the aggro, they're really good. He has corrupt abilities, so that's just a debuff for the team and yourself. The exotic crossbow that came out for Breakin', man, that thing puts out damage. That thing's good.
Which I've gotten multiple copies of, and I found out just too late last night, folks. Here's a fun tip for you. If you want to upgrade the catalyst for an exotic all the way, you need to have multiple copies of the weapon in your inventory so you don't get resources when you dismantle them. Ask me how I know. Anyways, I don't want to cry on stream about that. So I am looking forward to kitting him out further. What do you think viability? We're talking a little bit about Caber and Yolder being some options for day one type things with the ability to kind of navigate, have the clones, get through areas, these corrupt abilities you're talking about. Do you think there's anything there, or do you think he's going to be a pass?
For a day one, I think he'd be a pass. You could bring him in, and I don't think anybody would be like, oh, you're throwing. But I do think there is better options for a day one. I mean, if you look at like the Calamity leaderboards right now, where people are going into pretty underleveled content. Like, I think right now most people even in the top leaderboards are sitting 4,000 to 5,000 power below the recommended. Almost every team has a Ning Fei because he has decent survivability and he's so good at breaking the rapid fire shinkas that are in there, as well as putting out damage and breaking arc shields.
Gotcha.
Like that he's very good.
Does he have? Here's one last question I got for you about, and this is just across the spectrum here. What do you know off the top of your head? What characters actually have the capability to single-handedly take care of all three shields?
All three elemental shields?
Yes.
So I mean, there's Tan with if you're counting Borealis, that alone does it.
That's fair. I think that absolutely counts. Mostly because I chose Borealis. So, or no, I didn't choose Borealis, but when I log in today, I should be able to get access to it.
Gwen does have the capability because she's Void. She has solar sidearms, and then she has a mythic arc shotgun and the octane rocket. So those are arc.
Okay.
Let's see, Ning Fei, because he's arc. He has a Void SMG and a solar crossbow available.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yolder, because she's Void, she has an arc SMG, and then the best sword, Patriot Sky.
Yes.
Partridge, whatever it is, does Wolf. I don't think Wolf can.
Yeah, because even when
I might be
guys,
wrong
like,
on that. But
if you're at home screaming saying, "Well, yeah, they do," what I'm talking about is like I'm talking about actual high tier play. I'm talking like we're talking mythic weapons, we're talking exotic weapons, things of that sort. I'm not talking because Wolf there's a legendary Void. That's not what we're talking about here, guys. We're talking about when you start elevating, you get into this high tier content, and you're looking to cover your bases. That's really what I'm talking about. So, that's actually even if there's more than that. Like we're doing it off the top of our head, so we don't have to linger. But the main thing, I guess, the point I'm making is it is interesting, right? Like that's an interesting consideration to have to make and be like, if we're sending someone on ad clear, because like. I feel like if Caber could pop everything, because he doesn't have anything viable in the Void compartment, does he?
He actually has the Gallows machine gun.
Okay.
So,
but that has to exist, because I'm not convinced that exists, or at least I can't get it to drop. So, But that's interesting. So being able to use Gallows, but you at that point then you step down Furies, right? You're not on Furies anymore, which is a tough consideration for me too. I'm like, I don't know that I want to take that thing off.
So. I mean, Furies is basically a heavy weapon. It's hard to take it off.
Exactly. So that's kind of where I come down to. But it's good to know because there's a mythic solar pulse. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, there is.
Okay. So being able to do that, knowing that's an option that you can do, and if you need to. So guys, this is the official top tier. No, I'm just,
okay.
This is the number one tier list of this podcast. So thank you guys for hanging out. Astrix, thanks, man. Thanks for doing this, taking some time away from the game, away from the grind, mind you.
I know, man. How could you?
I couldn't.
No, I'm actually playing right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
Honestly, that would have been smart for me to just have the game up so I could have looked at some of the things you were referencing, but I didn't. So guys, thank you guys for listening. And until next time, be blessed, y'all.